Hello, my name is Dr. Patrick Brimstein, Superintendent of Brook High Schools. Since my arrival in July, 6 weeks ago, we have been spending the majority of my time and the time of our leadership team focusing solely on a safe reopening of schools. Our desire is to provide a seamless experience with quality and with your full confidence. And so we've been dedicating the majority of our time to do just that. My role at Brook is new here, but is not new to the job of being a superintendent. I have been superintendent, and my philosophy in leadership is really to develop the leadership capacity of those around me. Immediately the administrators, the teachers, our parents, and quite frankly our students. I feel, and I've found from my own experiences, that by doing that, that we tend to get better discussion and stronger, richer discussion and better ideas for stronger decisions. And obviously with a decision as great as reopening schools safely, I want as many participants involved in designing that as possible to represent the interests of everybody and also to do so again in the safest manner possible. So in order to really develop the plan, we've been collaborating not only as a leadership team, but also with our respective professional groups, be that the superintendents of Westchester County and surrounding areas, or the principals with their principal groups, but also with guidance from the CDC, the New York State Department of Health, as well as the New York State Education Guidance, and other groups such as Harvard and the American Academy of Pediatrics. We recognize that as a society, we've been traumatized by the coronavirus. Since March, our normal routines have been disrupted. Our relationships with our friends and our families have been compromised. I'm speaking from my own experiences. I have two parents, both in their 80s. I haven't seen them, and it's difficult for me and it's difficult for them. So I recognize that it's also difficult for you. So coming at this from the point of view that we've all endured some level of trauma, we understand it's really important to deal with the social and emotional dimensions of returning to school. How do we best meet your needs and explain things in a way that makes sense, that you're comfortable, and that's what our aim is to do. I also want to really comment on the fact that safety is truly our main priority. So the idea here is that our safety is interconnected, is quite frankly very physically true as well as emotionally true. So if a student were to become sick, and God forbid that happens, we also recognize that their health and well-being is connected to the health and well-being of the teacher, and then back to the brothers and sisters at home, and the moms and dads, the grandmas. So quite literally, every person's health is interconnected to someone else's. So it is our shared responsibility and our shared commitment to make sure that everyone is safe. And I'm deeply invested in making sure that that happens to the best of our ability. So one of the things I wanted to talk about too is that education is really at its best is nothing more than a network of complex relationships between a student and teacher, parents and teachers, administrators and teachers. And the idea that relationships are based on trust is more important now than ever before. So again, what we want to do is make sure that we're communicating the most clear way and the most open way. And if we don't get a chance to talk about something, you can always follow up with a private conversation. So our K-12 plan has really kept families in mind. And what I mean by that is that families will be in cohorts together so that the students in one household have similar experiences. That makes it easier for our parent partners to plan around the needs of school and their children as well as their own personal needs. Our cohort model also is based on science. It's based on best practices and medical understanding of the transmission of the disease, because our goal in school is to mitigate any transmission of the disease. And if coronavirus is introduced to our school, we've put into place mechanisms to safely address those and get the students the attention that they need in a way that doesn't expose other students. We've looked at this from 5 major perspectives. One is from an epidemiological perspective or a medical perspective to make sure that we have incorporated the best advice of what we know, how the disease is transmitted. We're very fortunate in our community to have a medical advisory team that is composed of doctors, residents, and they have residents of the district, and they have been advising us, and we've incorporated all of their advice into our plans. Our plan also looks at the lens of logistics. How do we best coordinate this so that the consistency is across the plan, so that our parents can reliably plan around what school is going to entail, whether that's the in-person or the remote sections. We've also looked at this from a communal lens. And quite frankly, I'm very grateful to the community for their generosity in sharing ideas that we've also incorporated into our plan. And of course, we're looking at our planning from a pedagogical or instructional standpoint. We want to make sure that we are delivering a high quality educational learning experience, and that any lessons learned from the past are incorporated in our future approaches. And finally, we're looking at this again as a social emotional lens to make sure that we're addressing the needs. Because if someone is feeling unsafe, they're not likely to be able to learn. And we want to make sure that people are feeling safe. And we also understand that our feelings, our own states of mind, are in some ways communicable as well. So if I'm feeling particularly happy, people around me tend to feel happy. If I'm feeling a little stressed out, people are going to pick up on that. And so my goal, quite frankly, is to make sure that everyone is feeling comfortable and secure and confident with our plans. And that's why we've taken such pains to make sure that we've incorporated people's feedback throughout the process. That's why we did surveys of students, of parents, and that's why we've incorporated a lot of that feedback right into our plan. So although the plan is developed, I would like to share with you that we're also contemplating additions and modifications to that plan, and there'll be more information on that forthcoming. But immediately, we're looking at soft reopening, and what that might entail is opportunities for parents and their sons and daughters to come into school, to meet their teachers, to meet their principals, to walk around the buildings and get a sense and a feel of what it's going to be like. And if that takes a few days to get everybody through safely, and then we start education afterwards, I think that's an investment that's probably well worth it. Again, just to make sure that everyone is very clear on what we're trying to do and why we're trying to do it. In closing, I'd just like to say that not only is it important that everyone is safe, but also that they feel safe. And I know that a community that pulls together at a time of crisis is a strong community and is likely to become an even stronger community. So I thank you again for your patience, for your understanding, for your contributions, and for your faith in our team to deliver the best product to your sons and your daughters in the safest way possible. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Colin Byrne, the Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum, Instruction, and Assessment for the Blind Brook School District. I'm here to give you an overview of how instruction will work in both the hybrid and remote instruction models. The specifics of instruction will differ between buildings and will be discussed in more detail by the building administration. In either model, students will receive instruction in both their core subjects and in specials classes such as art, music, computers, and physical education. The way that the specials classes run will vary based on the school building. A hybrid model combines in-person and at-home learning. This model allows us to provide in-person learning while maintaining social distancing protocols. In the hybrid model, in-person instruction will look the same as it normally would, just with smaller groups of students. When students are working at home, they will be provided with work that will be a continuation of the learning that went on during in-person sessions. The daily schedule for hybrid learning at each school building has been developed to best meet the needs of the students in that building. Specific details of each building schedule will be discussed by the building principal and can be seen in the district's 2020-2021 reopening plan that is available on the district website. While our plan is to run in the hybrid learning model, there is always the possibility that the district may be forced into the remote instruction model due to an outbreak of COVID-19 in our area. The district has a fully articulated remote instruction plan that preserves many of the elements of the classroom experience as possible. Details of the remote learning plan can also be found in the 2020-2021 reopening plan on the district's website. In either model, there will be consistent live interaction with teachers. Students' learning will be assessed regularly, and timely feedback will be provided. At this time, regular grading policies and procedures will be in place. As it is a New York State requirement, attendance will be reported daily. Processes for reporting attendance will be established at each building. To facilitate learning in either mode, additional programs such as Zoom, Kami, and Screencastify have been purchased for the district. Teachers have been provided access to workshops on instructional techniques for hybrid and remote instruction through our local BOCES, as well as other service providers. Training courses in technology have also been established for teachers during the month of August. Further professional development needs are being discussed. Our overall goal is to provide your children with the best instruction possible while preserving their health and safety. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Jonathan Ross, Assistant Superintendent for Finance and Facilities here at the Blind Brook School District, and today I'm going to discuss three parts of our operation: facilities, transportation, and food service, as we begin to re-enter school next month in September. I'm going to start with facilities. Our plan has been all along to try to do as good a job cleaning as possible using the most state-of-the-art cleaning products. We're fortunate at Blind Brook to do all of our own cleaning. We do not contract out any of the labor, and so therefore we have very good control as to what goes on. We, with our custodians during the day, they are bus driver custodians, but we are bringing on a couple of extra custodians to start the year, and we have our night cleaners. So we anticipate using products that are either CDC or EPA regulated and approved, and these products typically are Clorox wipes and Hydrolite, which we will use with electrostatic sprayers. During the day, we anticipate cleaning or wiping down all of the high-touch areas on an ongoing, frequent basis. In between, at the Ridge Street School, the AM and PM session will be wiping down everything: desks, chairs, all high-touch areas, to the maximum extent that is possible. At the middle and high school, we will do that throughout the day. The cleaning that goes on after lunch, certainly at the middle high school, we'll do the necessary sanitization. There will be no lunch, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Generally speaking, we have construction ongoing at Ridge Street School, but this construction in the new year will be outside. Most all, as we speak today, August 17th, most all inside work at the Ridge Street School is near completion, and we're beginning the process of cleaning and painting and getting ready the school for next month. But once we are done, we will not have any construction inside, any construction workers inside, and we'll be able to maintain the cleanliness better than we have certainly during the past 6 months that we've had construction inside the building going on. Middle and high school, we anticipate that by the end of September, all work should be done on the inside, and we'll just probably be finishing up some punch list items and some site work at that point. So we're in much better shape at the middle high school because of the work was isolated, and we were not doing much infrastructure work on the inside. High school windows in the old portion of the high school, and the fire alarm system notwithstanding. So in terms of facilities, again, we're relying on our own people under the direction of Luis Rodriguez and Luis Greco. I anticipate no problems and a high order of cleaning and sanitization on a daily basis. And if we have to come in on a Saturday to augment the cleaning and do a more deeper cleaning, certainly we will do that as well. Okay, at this point, I'm going to talk about pupil transportation or school bus service. As everybody knows, the district is fortunate to own and operate its own school bus fleet for transporting students to the Ridge Street School, the middle school, and the high school. We do contract out to private parochial and special education schools, and both the Blind Brook school transportation operation and the contract operators are fully aware of what the protocols are to be in terms of riding buses and cleaning buses, and what the schedules are likely to be as we begin the school year for each of the schools. I think what's most important, though, for all faculty, staff, students, while they're in the buildings, and certainly the school bus is an extension of the school building while they're on school buses, is that everybody wears personal protective equipment, PPE. It's critical that everyone wear masks. I would highly encourage, if at all possible, wearing gloves as well. This way, if you're touching something, you're not touching it with your skin or your fingertips. So we are strongly encouraging social distancing. Expect that everybody is maintaining proper social distancing, and again, parents as well, everybody wearing masks at the very minimum, and again, encouraging the wearing of gloves. While you're on the school bus, there'll be one student to a seat. The way we've structured our routes, we'll only be transporting half the number of kids that are eligible and are assigned to that run. And that's every run, both to Ridge Street School and the middle and high school. So with the one child per seat, we are saying we're asking for siblings, brothers, sisters, to sit with one another, therefore freeing up additional space on the bus in the event that we need it. So if there are any issues, certainly you can always email me, jross@blindbrook.org, or Juan Zindon, J-Zindon, J-Z-H-I-N-D-O-N, at blindbrook.org if there are any issues related to the buses that your children are on. And I'll move over now to food service. So we anticipate that at Ridge Street School there will be no food service at all this year, at least for the start of the year. We'll see at what point perhaps the governor and circumstances permit a full day school. Once that does occur, there'll be some lead time, and Whitson's has promised to get up and running as fast as possible to provide food service as they did last year in the old gym while we're under construction. The middle high school, we anticipate a grab and go pre-order through the Choosy app, pre-ordering, and then there's a prepay that Patty DeLuvio is establishing. We believe that there will be hot and cold. We may initially have to start out with just cold grab and go at the middle and high school. We will be using the pickup window and perhaps one kiosk. But I think generally speaking, while we're not discouraging the purchasing of grab and go food, we are encouraging that children bring their lunch from home maybe the first week or two as we ramp up the services that are provided by Whitson's. So at this point, I've talked about facilities, transportation, and child nutrition, food service. And again, I would encourage anybody with a question to call me or email me. Perhaps email is best, jross@blindbrook.org. Patty DeLuvio, it's P. DeLuvio, DILLUVIO, at blindbrook.org. And again, Juan Zindon, JZHINDON, at blindbrook.org. Thank you for listening, and I wish the best to you and your family and your children especially, and we look forward to seeing them in about 3 weeks.
In the Blind Brook School District, the health and safety of students and faculty is of paramount importance. In accordance with New York State guidelines, the school district will utilize a health screening app to ensure students meet the criteria for safe entry into the building. Each day, we will need your help in the process, as guardians will be required to complete the student health screening prior to the start of the school day. In real time, student statuses will be reported to the school personnel to allow for safe entry into the building. This team effort will help instruction begin in a timely manner each day. Specific app details and process will be shared with guardians prior to the start of the school year.
My name is Harry Berg, and I'm the Director of Pupil Services. I'm here to discuss special education in remote and hybrid learning environments as related to the Blind Brook School's reopening plan. Please know that Blind Brook is committed to providing all mandated services for students with disabilities as per the student's IEP or 504 accommodation plan in a manner that protects the health and safety of students as well as those providing these services. During both remote and hybrid instruction, special education programs and services will be regularly scheduled in all 3 buildings. If not provided in person, special education shall be provided using video conferencing technology to the extent possible. Special education programs and services will also continue to ensure students access to necessary accommodations, modifications, and technology, as well as provide monitoring and communication of student progress. Please know that until schools return to normal operating conditions, the same flexibility with respect to IEP implementation for delivery of equitable services to the extent possible that were established during the previous school closure due to the COVID-19 outbreak continues to apply to programs and services whether delivered in person or remotely, including flexibility with respect to the mode and or manner of delivery of services, group or individual sessions, and the specific group size, frequency, duration, and location of services. Additionally, please know that as per New York State guidance, if the parents or guardians of a student receiving special education services choose not to send their student back for in-person instruction, Blindbrook will provide instruction and special education remotely. In Blindbrook, we've also established that if a student receiving special education services in the hybrid model is recommended for any special class programming or is not making appropriate progress, the district will make efforts to provide as much in-person special education and related service as practicable. If you'd like further information related to special education, please refer to page 16 of the Blindbrook Reopening Plan, the district website, or feel free to reach out to me or Assistant Director Jennifer Herlihy at any time. Thank you, and please take care.
Hello, my name is DJ Goldman, and I am the Director of Physical Education, Health Education, and Interscholastic Athletics. I will begin by addressing some of the re-entry procedures that will be in place at the start of this school year. Each school principal will be able to provide information specific for their school building. Our school district will be securing an online health screening attestation application that must be completed prior to your child being permitted to enter the school building or ride the school bus. A push notification will be sent every morning. You will be able to set your notification preferences to be received via text, email, or both. Each school building will implement strategies for staggered arrival and dismissal times, as well as using multiple entrances and exits for students. When students enter the school building, they must move directly to their first classroom of the day. School lockers will not be used, and hallways will be monitored to encourage constant movement and prevent loitering. Outdoor classes will be used as often as is appropriate. Only touchless water bottle fill stations will be permitted. Finally, bathrooms will be modified to encourage social distancing. For instance, only every other sink will be available for use. Now, I would like to address some of the health and safety procedures that will be in place at the start of the school year. Social distancing will be enforced at all times. Classrooms will be set up in advance to ensure social distancing. Most hallways and staircases will be designated one way with appropriate signage. Any two-way hallways will utilize no walking zones and other signage to promote appropriate social distancing. There will be a Stop the Spread campaign with signage and videos. Some of the topics included in this campaign are using hand sanitizer and cleansing wipes upon entry to a classroom, washing hands anytime they are soiled. Face coverings will be required when social distancing is not possible and at all times during arrival, dismissal, and transition times. And there will be frequent age-appropriate messages about health and hygiene practices. Finally, we must have collective cooperation with all community members to assist in contact tracing efforts. The school district will be assisting the community as it relates to COVID testing. Information can be found in our district plan and is also available from the New York State COVID hotline and the Westchester Department of Health. Tests are also available through private medical providers. At this time, I will address physical education and interscholastic athletics. All physical education classes will be following the guidance released by the CDC, the New York State Department of Health, and the New York State Education Department. As per the current guidance, in-person classes will require 12 feet of social distance while participating in activities that require aerobic activity. Also, any individual equipment that is used will be sanitized after each use. As of Sunday, August 16th, interscholastic athletic activities are scheduled to begin on September 21st, and online registration will open on August 24th via Family ID. Communication from the athletic department can be expected by means of blast email through School Messenger along with updates to the athletics website. Governor Cuomo has not released an updated timeline for a final decision to be made. All athletic activities will comply with guidance released by the National Federation of High Schools, New York State Department of Education, New York State Public High School Athletic Association, and the Section 1 Office of Interscholastic Athletics. Additionally, health and safety measures will be implemented based upon recommendations from the CDC and the New York State Department of Health. Specific information about the Interscholastic Athletic Program can be found on the Blindbrook District website If you have any questions, please send me an email at dgoldman@blindbrook.org.
Hi, my name is Erica Abramson, and I'm a pediatrician at Weill Cornell and a parent of an elementary school child at Ridge Street and a middle school child at Blindbrook. And I'm here today to talk about my role and the role in the community of the Medical Advisory Committee for Blindbrook School District. So for those of you who don't know, the Medical Advisory Committee is a group of volunteers consisting of medical professionals. So we have pediatricians, we have internists, we have emergency medicine physicians, we have dentists who have been partnering with the administration and the board going back to March, trying to look at the best scientific evidence we have about how to guide school planning for the past year and the upcoming year. So a few principles that we have been adhering to as we move through the past few months and coming into the next academic year, which we wanted to share with the community. So the first thing is that what we know about this disease today is changing incredibly rapidly. And so one of the things that we are all learning on this journey is the importance of flexibility. So we look at all the scientific evidence that's out there. We spend lots of time looking through the literature. I'm involved in listservs from physicians around the country who are working with advising schools, and we try to make the best recommendations that we can at the time, but knowing that things can change at any minute. The second principle that we've all been working on is the fact that in order for this next year to be a success, it's critically important that the rates in the community stay low. So it's really everyone's collective responsibility to adhere to all the principles that we are saying, because we know that this disease can really spread rapidly, and that if the community rates start to rise, there's no chance for in-person learning for our children for the next year. And the last thing that we all want to recognize is that this has been an incredibly difficult time for everyone in this community, for parents, for children, for teachers, for administrators, and we know that we're all doing our very best. And so what we need to be doing is to support each other, because what's right for one family and what's right for one child and what's right for one teacher or administrator or staff member may not be right for somebody else, because everyone's circumstance is quite different. In terms of getting children back into the classroom, there are a number of things that we have been working with the school board and the administrators and the teachers on trying to do. So first thing we've spent a lot of time thinking about are the logistics of being in the schoolroom. So to keep everyone as safe as possible, we are asking for universal masking for children. A lot of people have had questions about whether it's safe for everyone to wear masks and what exceptions exist. And I can tell you as a pediatrician that the American Academy of Pediatrics is very clear that for all children over the age of 2, with very, very rare exceptions, everyone should be wearing masks. And those exceptions are very rare things, like somebody is actually unconscious, someone's having acute difficulty breathing in that particular moment, or they're unable physically to remove their mask should it become a hazard to them. Those are really the only exceptions. And it's really important to have children wear masks to keep them safe. Now, we know that this can be hard for children. It can be hard for adults as well. And so we're asking parents to really work to explain to children why it's important that they wear masks to keep everyone safe, and also practice with them at home, especially in the weeks prior to coming to school, in order to help facilitate that when children are in school. We've also spent a lot of time thinking about the physical layout of the buildings. Each one poses different challenges. And so within the buildings, we have gone to cohort models to make sure that children are with the smallest group of children possible, and that within the classrooms, we're maintaining at least a 6-foot radius around children. And so that is going to be true throughout the school. The other thing that we have been thinking about are what are higher and lower risk activities for children. So we know that certain activities such as band, chorus, indoor athletic activities pose a much higher risk of transmission. And so we've thought about what activities within the school can occur when children are there, and what activities should occur for children when they are home. And so those are decisions that have been built into the schedule. We've also paid a lot of attention to things like transportation. So trying to figure out, how do we safely get children to and from school? How do we limit children on the bus? how do we make sure that children are sitting next to their immediate family as opposed to what typically happens on a regular school bus? And also thinking about for more parents who might be driving, how are we going to maximize the entrances for drop off and pickup? And again, this is all with the goal of promoting social distancing. We've also spent a lot of time thinking about, regardless of what the academic year looks like in the upcoming months, about what we need to do to support virtual learning and also facilitate any of the shorter time we have in classrooms. So we're really going to be focusing a lot on promoting social emotional connectedness between teachers and students and other students, which can be a bit more challenging the way that this next year is going to be structured. We're also making sure to pay attention to children who may be more vulnerable in the school. And so that's children with mental health issues, which we know are rapidly emerging in the time of COVID due to social isolation, anxiety. Children may have lost loved ones or other people close to them. We know that families are under extraordinary stress from losing jobs, again, losing families. Tensions at home can be higher. And so we have to make sure that we're reaching out to families and students, and also think about students who have learning disabilities or learning difficulties, in which virtual learning and some of the changes can be particularly hard. So we spent a lot of time, again, working with the administration and advising them on suggestions to how to help make sure that all these resources and groups are paid attention to. We have not yet gotten into things like athletics, but that will be something that I know parents have asked about. And certainly in the weeks to come, we'll be thinking about how and what and if things can be done safely, because we know that sports and other kinds of things are actually really critically important for the development of children. So I hope that allays your concerns that at least there is a group of us who are really working very, very hard and partnering with the board and partnering with the teachers and partnering with the students and trying to give the best advice based on the best medical knowledge that we have. The only other thing I would like to say is that this year, more than ever, it's going to be really, really important that if your child has any medical symptoms, runny nose, cough, things that don't involve fevers where we typically would have sent them to school in years past, it's absolutely essential that children and teachers and staff stay home. We can't really take any chances. And until there's more robust testing infrastructure across this country, we all have to err on the side of caution to keep everyone safe. So thank you, and here's hoping to a great next year.
Hi everyone. So I am here to present a quick overview of the hybrid plan, the remote plan, and entry into the building. I realize that what I'm saying right now may not answer all of your questions, but I assure you that we will be able to answer them at the end of this presentation. The first thing I'm going to talk about is the remote learning plan. Now, this was based on core principles. And one of the things we wanted to make sure that there was a very strong student to teacher connection. Students have to see their teachers and they have to see them every day, which is why we fostered daily live instruction between the teachers and the students to provide opportunities for large group work, small group work, and individual. We also wanted to make sure that if this is school and we are on a remote plan in which all the children are at home, we want to give them a school feeling. So during that time, they have a specials class that they go to. They have a period called HRE, homeroom enrichment, in which that's where they would get their reading help, maybe some math enrichment, possibly some other services for special ed, and also work on some projects. We wanted to build that in. We also needed to have some common planning time for the teachers, because behind the scenes, the teachers also need time to prep for the work that they're presenting to your children. We wanted to make sure that we have a strong social emotional connection between the students and the teachers as well. We wanted an emphasis to collaborate and have students discuss things with each other. That's why if we go live with the children, they get to do that. We also wanted to make sure that there was timely feedback on assignments, and things are due when they're due. I know last time in March, April, May, June, things were a little bit loose on when they were returned. But this time, if this is school, if it's due on a certain day, it's due on a certain day. We will work with families on this in terms of making things manageable, but we wanted to make sure that we set up that from the beginning. And we also wanted to balance this understanding of screen time versus pen. I will say paper and pencil, not pen, because we still can do pencil. But we wanted to make sure that there was a really good balance, because we felt that there was sometimes too much screen time, and that really should be a combination of both. So as we move forward, we are just going to touch upon a few more things. The live lessons that we talked about during the remote model, that I just mentioned, are going to be anywhere between 15 and 40 minutes. Now, you might be saying 15 minutes, this is age appropriate. Please understand that a 5th grader can manage 40 minutes on a Zoom, but a kindergartner, they kind of tap out maybe at about 20 minutes. So the reason why we put these parameters in place is to allow the teacher the flexibility to meet in small group and whole group, but it is age specific, and we will send out more information on approximately the amount of times that your students will be getting a live session with your teacher. It just depends on the purpose. If the teacher wants to have the whole group listen to a story and has an instructional part, then they probably want the whole class, and they might be 40 minutes. However, if maybe it's a shortened period of time and maybe it's just a 20-minute session and they'll go back to the child later, then it might be 20 minutes. Again, we will get that information to you. We felt that communication is very important. So you will not only be getting email, but you will be getting phone calls from teachers just kind of checking in, making sure everything is okay. Problems may arise, as they always do, whether you're physically in the building or not. So we want to make sure that we will maintain that communication. A weekly newsletter or a weekly recap is always great to keep you informed so that you know what is going on during the week, so you have that week-long perspective. Now, the one thing I will say is that when your teacher communicates the time that your child is going live, it's very important that they are live. And we will work out those kinks. There will probably be a lot of kinks in the beginning, but we're going to work together on this. The whole point is to have the student see their teacher and feel a part of the class. So in this remote model, we have to make sure that if you are ready to attend, that your children are ready, dressed for school, not pajamas. They've eaten their breakfast separately. They're not having a snack and working. They can do that off the screen, but they're ready to work. Now, if a child does not come on time when they're supposed to, it's okay. They will just join in. But if they don't come at all, just make sure that you know that you've communicated that with the teacher. You may not even be aware. But what we want to do is set up a structure that if the teacher does not see your child live at all during the day and they are not aware of anything, they're going to reach out to you just to make sure that everything's okay. Google Classroom, I know. There's mixed emotions about that, but we are using that as a K-5 platform. It really levels it so that everybody knows exactly where things are. We're trying not to post as much things on the classroom. So please be prepared that what the classroom looked like before may not look like that come September. We're also going to use a variety of programs. Some things you might be familiar with, some things might be new. We're going to get that information out. Again, the beginning of September is always building those structures and routines, and a strong structure and routine is what is going to set the tone for the rest of the year. Attendance will be taken whenever a child is live. So now let me talk just a little bit about the schedule. So every morning, my morning announcements will be coming to you in a recorded fashion. You can watch them whenever you would like. The teacher will also have a morning session with your children. Now, the morning session may be recorded, it might be live, but if it's live, it might be connected with the lesson of the day. So just to go through the structure, and I'll give you an example of one particular grade. You might start with the announcements, then go into a morning meeting, and then your child might be scheduled for, I don't know, let's say a 9 o'clock lesson with the teacher. Maybe the teacher will have half the class. Maybe they'll have the full class, but times will be communicated, and we truly want those times to be stagnant so that you're ready, the student is ready, students are ready, your children are ready for the time that they're going on live. There will be work that's assigned, and since the teachers are going to see your children twice, it is very possible that a morning Zoom session might connect with work that they'll have to do to get ready for the afternoon session. So for example, if a teacher is doing maybe a writing assignment, they could be starting it off in the beginning, give the child some time to write, and then come back and check in with the child later that day. If that's the case and the live lesson is tremendously ELA based, then just know that the math lessons for the day will be communicated in a recorded format. Now, it is possible that a teacher might change things up. Maybe there's a reading assignment they want to do in the morning and they want to get that going, and maybe they're going to meet in the afternoon for math. If that's the case, other subjects or other assignments will be posted. But the idea is that when your child is live with the teacher, it is instructional, it is purposeful, and there are assignments that the students will be doing. But the teacher does have that flexibility. It might change throughout the day, but that's all going to be communicated with you in September once schedules and things are set. As for the specials classes, your child will have a combination of live lessons and recorded lessons. The whole point is to make sure that the child is not on the computer the whole time, but has some time to be able to interact with the specials teachers. So to interact live with Mrs. Murphy, and then also have a time, she's our art teacher, by the way, and also have a time where Mrs. Murphy will be able to post a recorded lesson for something that your child will do. There's another part of the day that is called HRE. This is specifically tailored to small group instruction, projects, but it's really an independent time for children. No new instruction is introduced. Every single child in the school has a different HRE time depending upon their grade level. So kindergarten, it might be in the morning, fourth grade, it might be in the afternoon, fifth grade, it might be in the afternoon, second grade, it might be in the morning. That particular time, your teacher will communicate things that they would like your child to be able to do. This will not necessarily be a live time. The live times to concentrate on is the instruction in the morning and the instruction in the afternoon. And as always, you have to work in lunch and recess, and that is for everybody from 11:30 to 12:30. Some of you might be wondering when your child is going to receive their special ed services. Well, if your child receives a service that is in conjunction with a general ed service, we will make sure that the general ed teacher and the special ed teacher are working together to plan so that your child receives the support that they do. At this point in time, and this is always subject to change, since everyone is going to be remote, the idea is that the children will be receiving their services remotely. Now, I know what you're going to say. Are there exceptions? There are always exceptions, but we really have to handle that on a case-by-case basis. What I will tell you is that we are trying to make sure that any child receiving special ed services, it does not interfere with their feeling with their idea of being with the whole class. So they will be able to get their pull-out instruction, usually during HRE time, because that's a time where everybody's kind of off doing different things. If a child is getting reading help, that would be during HRE time. If a child is getting math enrichment, that's during HRE time. If a child is getting any type of math help, that's also during HRE time. So we'll work with you, and there will be an individual schedule for your child or for the class posted on the Google Classroom. So you can always check whatever the schedule is for that day. We're going to move on to the hybrid. The core principles for the hybrid model is to ensure the safety and well-being of everyone when they're here, of the students, of the faculty, of the staff. We also want to provide a really comprehensive academic program and also get that social emotional piece that, oh boy, we can't wait to see each other. We want to allow this, the structure will allow students and teachers to build relationships with one another beyond that computer screen. because there really is, it's just great to be able to have everybody physically right in front of you. We have to take into consideration the space and the staffing limitations that we do have at the school. What that means is we are under construction, so we have to manage the physical space that we have. We want to provide consistency and stability for the students, the teachers, the staff, and the families. So let's talk about the schedule. Here is a slide to talk about the hybrid model. In the hybrid model, children are coming to school. However, we know that some families may choose to keep their children at home, or maybe there is a child who is sick, not feeling well, and needs to remain at home. We wanted to let you know what that looks like. So here's an example of what it looks like if a child is in the morning AM cohort. What this means is, if you take a look on the left, the children who attend school will come in from 8:30 to 11 o'clock. And at the same time, there might be a child who is in their class and is at home. That means from 8:30 to 11 o'clock, that child who is at home and still considered part of the AM cohort should definitely get ready to get to work. They are either going to receive synchronous or asynchronous instruction from their teacher. It's almost as if they were in school and they would be getting exactly what they would be getting from their classroom teacher. ELA and math, social studies embedded within the ELA, and science lessons throughout the week. Certainly, special education instruction and support services would be available for these students. At 11 o'clock, when children go home, that is when children at home already have a transition and have a lunch and recess. In the afternoon, both children who are in the morning cohort will do exactly the same thing. They will have their homework to do, they will have projects to work on, maybe some individual work, and attend their specials class. This will be done in a synchronous instruction at home, so they will be able to see their specials teacher. Now let's take a look at what the hybrid model looks like in the PM cohort. In the PM cohort, there are students who are going to attend school in the afternoon from 12:45 to 3:15. But there also may be children who are in the same class who are remaining at home. We want to make sure that they still feel connected with the classroom. So at 8:30, they're going to start their work. There might be some homework, some projects, or individual instruction to do, and they will certainly attend their specials class with synchronous instruction at home, where they will be able to see their specials teacher. And then at 11 o'clock, there will be a transition for lunch and recess. The children who will attend school at some point will leave their home to attend school and arrive at school at 12:45. The children who attend school will be in their classroom with their teacher from 12:45 to 3:15. The children who are at home will be receiving synchronous or asynchronous instruction from their teacher, but at their house. Bottom line, whether you are at home or in school, you are getting the instruction that you would have been getting if you were with your teacher in school for the 2.5-hour period. This is just a quick overview of what the hybrid model looks like for children who are either at home or who are attending school. So the next part that we're going to talk about is coming back into the building and what that's going to look like. Each day, students and faculty will be asked to sign in on an app, and this app is going to ask a lot of health questions. You must answer those. Once you answer them, it's going to give you the A-OK that you're ready to go and come to school. If you are not A-OK, we're asking that you stay home, and please contact the school, of course. Emails and text messages will be sent reminding everyone to do it, but everybody must do it every day. Suggestion is to get into a rhythm, do it at a certain time, and then it'll be part of your routine. When students come into the building, we will have teacher aides and monitors at the door, greeting everybody, welcome everybody in, making sure that they're maintaining that 6-foot distance and making sure that they're wearing masks. Now, the one thing I will say about the masks is, and thanks to a very special family and one special bluebird who happened to make a chain. These seem to be the big thing. I just thought I would highlight it. With kids, they might fall off, and it might, let's just say if they're taking it off for any reason, it might come off. So these handy dandy little, I can say chains or lanyards are popping up. And what I can say and just demonstrate is that we don't mandate this, but we're kind of recommending that if a child does come in with a lanyard and their mask attached to it, if for some reason it falls, it never falls on the floor. So you may want to maybe think about one of these. All staff and students must inform the nurse if they are not coming into school or if they're not feeling well. And the last piece is this. We are in a unique situation. We're in a situation where school, this is what it looks like. We cannot have visitors in the building unless by appointment. Please do not come to drop anything off without calling the office or contacting the office. There should not be a reason for you to come into the building. Please, we are here to help you. But this school year is like no other. And at this point, we have to set the stage up for visitors will be extremely limited. We're going to move on to the next part, and that is to talk about arrival. Okay. So what I can tell you is what I think that works out the best is that arrival is naturally staggered. So when children come in, the idea is they would normally go to a large place to sit. But we are not having that. When children come in, when they come into the building, they're going to come in and go right to the classroom. The idea is to kind of keep everybody moving. We're going to have 4 doors that we believe that we can still use these doors. I know things are changing all the time, but we are looking to use 4 entry doors. The first door is the lower lot. That's a pretty heavily used door. That's the one located by the district office. That will be for buses, because when our buses come in, the children will be riding the buses, and I know Dr. Ross will be talking about busing. The children, when they get off the bus, they will go in through that door. There is another door. It's a door that we do not use. It's a door that's actually located in between the district office building and that wing and the main wing. And there's a very narrow path. Trust me, we will have signs all over the place, that's for sure. And our 4th and 5th graders will enter that door. There is another door that is going to be utilized. It's off of the main entrance, but it's further down in that building. That's going to be the 2nd grade door. And the main entrance will be used for K, for 1, and for 3. Now, the idea about these doors is to spread everybody out so that not everybody is walking in the same door. There will be monitors, there will be aides that will be outside and inside, making sure that everybody is walking within a 6-foot distance. Upon entering the building, again, we are going to check to make sure that the app has been done. So all of the aides and monitors at the entrances will make sure that your child is approved to come in and that all staff members are approved to come in. Parents are not allowed in the building at this time. Yes, there's always exceptions, but we're just really going to make this as limited as possible. We're going to move on to the next part. And the next thing that we're going to be talking about is dismissal is something that we are working out right now because we are struggling with the fact that if everyone is dismissed at 11 o'clock or everyone's dismissed at 3:15, everybody's coming out at the same time. We would like to use those same entrances, but we also want to coordinate with families. So we just need to get back to you with a little bit more time and some structure with the dismissal plans, but we want to make sure that everyone, when they leave the building, leaves safely. We're going to move on to the next part, which is wearing personal protective equipment, PPE. It is very important that everybody has a mask. A mask must be worn at all times, and it must be covering your nose and your mouth. Everybody must wear it. Students are required to wear a mask, and we will work with families if there is difficulty with this. We will also have our faculty, who might be wearing additional PPE, such as face shields. Some might be wearing gowns and gloves, but we have a lot of this. If for some reason a child shows up and they don't have their mask, or if the mask gets in some way damaged or destroyed, I don't see how that would happen, but maybe, we will have additional masks on hand. So we really don't want anyone to worry about that. We're going to move on to healthy hygiene practices, and just say there will be signage all over, making sure that everybody washes their hands. Children are not sharing materials. They're going to be coming in with their own materials. We are making sure that the teachers are going to review their practices and proper hygiene, and students will get a specific seat in their classroom, which they will go to. It will be cleaned off between sessions, and we will be able to show you some pictures of some classrooms as well. Children should bring in their own water bottle. We are not having children go to the water fountain and putting their lips on the water fountain. Children should bring their own water bottle. Please make sure it has their name, because if some reason it gets detached from the child, we will make sure that the water bottle gets back to them. We have Lysol, we have Clorox, we have Purell, we have a lot of this, which is so fantastic. Can't thank the building maintenance staff enough for thinking ahead, but I know that there are some other schools that might be struggling. We have it, and we have a lot. In every classroom, Purell, in every office, Purell, in every classroom, we've got Clorox wipes, we have all this. The next thing, we want to make sure that the children are socially distanced. And that means to try to practice even at home, or when you're out and about, what does being 6 feet apart mean? We're going to have markings throughout the school. There are certain hallways that are going to be designated one-way hallways, and if they're wide enough to encounter two, there will be markings on the wall, just like you would see them at Stop and Shop or CVS. We are making sure that when children are in the classroom that they are 6 feet apart, and that there is also a 6 feet of separation with the teacher. Obviously, the teacher is going to be interacting with the children will be interacting with each other, and clearly that is the reason why, if you have to get a little closer, that's the reason why we have the masks. Now, prior to arrival and dismissal, we will have our aides and our monitors in the hallway, making sure that the children are socially distanced as much as possible. And if your child is going to the bathroom, they have to wear a mask. If they're walking in the hallway, they have to wear a mask. Let's move on to the bathrooms. So their recommendation has been made to us that there should only be 2 children in the bathroom at a time. We feel that in order to maintain this number, that we will station someone outside the bathroom and make sure that they know who is going in, so that we can also manage from what classroom, from what direction, and help the child as they're getting in and out of the bathroom in terms of where to go. If there are a number of urinals or a number of sinks that are set next to one another, one of them will be cautioned off to make sure that if children are using them, that they are not standing on top of one another. But again, we will have people monitoring the bathrooms. As we move on to talk about the next part is when someone is sick or not feeling well. Now, we have already said, if you're not feeling well, please stay home. Please fill out that app, but please stay home. But if during the day someone is not feeling well, they will be directed to go to the nurse's office. Every school has to maintain an isolation room. An isolation room is a room that is close to the nurse's office, but that is where any child or any adult is not feeling well or presenting with COVID symptoms will go into that isolation room to be separated from everywhere else, so that the proper determinations can be made. I know that the Health and Safety Committee are working on additional protocols, but I just wanted to let you know that If your child should not feel well, we will contact you, and then we will communicate with you the best procedures at this point to follow. The biggest thing will be testing. Once you get the results of the test, we're obviously asking that you contact us, and then from there, the proper determinations will be made. The next part is cleaning and disinfecting. So we are dedicated to maintaining a very clean environment, and all cleaning and disinfecting will take place, comply with CDC and New York State of Ed guidelines. We have purchased, and I actually have to read this, a Hydrolite hospital grade disinfectant for electrostatic sprayers. We have that. As I mentioned before, we have Clorox wipes, we have Clorox wipes with bleach, we have Clorox wipes that don't have bleach. All rooms are going to be disinfected, certainly every day. In the middle of the day, in our case, common areas, stairwells, door handles, countertops, desks, everything's going to be cleaned at the start, in the middle, and at the end of the day. And there will be cleaning wipes available in every classroom. As we mentioned before, the district will be hiring additional staff to help with some of the cleaning. The next part is this, the facilities. The doorways to a lot of large access spaces are going to be propped open to try to limit the number of people that are touching those surfaces. There are air purifiers in every classroom and office. These air purifiers have a HEPA filter in them. They also have an ultraviolet light, which kills viruses and bacteria. That's too small to be filtered through the HEPA filter. This is not a bright light. It is safe. It is not anything that the children have had these air purifiers, frankly, in the classroom since last year. We had them in our classrooms and offices because of construction. So it worked out to be a very win-win situation that we already had the HEPA filters here. Air conditioner filters will be changed more frequently than usual. Like we said, all water fountains in the building, we are not going to be touching the water fountains. We will use them for filling up water bottles, and there will be additional water stations throughout the building. Those certainly will be cleaned as well. We are required to conduct fire drills, lockdown drills, as we normally do, and we will do those with safe protocols. We will walk the teachers through this, the students through this, because unfortunately, we still have to prepare for those in the middle of all of this. So as we move on, I'm going to say right now, I presented a lot of information to you, and I know it's a lot for you to take in. Please write down your questions, and in a little bit, we'll be able to get back to you with answering more questions you have. I hope that this was able to alleviate some concerns or some questions that you already had. We are in this together. Bluebirds chirp. We are excited to be back at school, no matter what that looks like. Have a great day.
Thank you. We'll now transition to Mrs. Catrone and Mrs. Taylor.
Well, hello. That was a lot of information. And I taped that the other day, and I'm already exhausted listening to it. Mrs. Catrone, I believe we have quite some questions out there. We have quite a few that have been submitted. No joke on the number 500. I know some people use 500 as a big number, but I believe that was pretty much it. 500 questions?
Yes, yes, over
Okay.
500 questions.
So this is what we're going to do. The video was made to answer some of those questions. Mrs. Catrone, I think you and I hit a lot of those questions that were submitted, but what we're going to do right now is go through the ones that we felt needed a little bit more clarification, and we're going to get started. Where should we begin?
We're going to begin at the beginning. We took all of the questions that you submitted over the past several days, and we were able to cluster them in some categories related to remote and hybrid learning, related to the classroom, related to the academic program, to cleaning, to arrival and dismissal, many of the things that came up on the video. But we still have some questions here that could use a little bit more clarification. And so we will also be asking some of our other colleagues to chime in with certain questions that can be better answered by the other experts. So, Mrs. Taylor, are you ready?
I'm ready.
You're
Let's
ready.
do this. Yes.
So the first group of questions have to do with the remote learning plan. And here's some things that parents asked that were not addressed in the video. The first one is, under what circumstances would a class or a school go to remote learning?
So I'm the one just okay. The first thing I want to say is that I think everyone's using the word remote in a lot of different ways, and I'm going to use it. I'm going to try to use it in one specific way consistently. So when we talk about remote learning, we're talking about a remote learning plan. And in that remote learning plan, that means we're going to assume that everybody is at home. So if the question was about when would we be at home, what would that be? That is a district level decision. Mrs. Catrone and I might have some say into that or input, but that is a district level decision about whether or not school closes. There could be a variety of reasons. It could be information from the state. The governor might just say you're closed. There could be some increased cases, which I don't want it to happen, but there could be some increased cases in which we have to close. And there could be some various other reasons that we have to close, but that is in a nutshell.
Thank you. How much time will teachers spend with students in the Google Classroom?
So I want to touch upon this like I did in the video, and there will be an opportunity for you to go back. So think about this. The teachers are going to see the children during the remote learning plan. Remember, when this is remote, when everyone's at home, they will see the children once in the morning, once in the afternoon. Now, they might see the children for 20 to 40 minutes, depending upon the instructional purpose and also the age and attention span. And don't forget, we might start off in the beginning of the year with 20 and have it grow to 30, so I don't want anyone thinking that they're only getting 20 minutes of instruction in the morning and 20 minutes in the afternoon, because I think things are going to grow. The idea is to give a combination of some time in which they're getting the specific instruction from the teacher, some alone time to practice, and then some time to kind of join later. It's a great way to actually have the teacher check over some work. And it's a way to stay connected throughout the day. So I think that kind of answers that one.
Yes. Mrs. Taylor, will the remote classes be recorded?
So the classes that are going to happen, the way we have it set up is that we will primarily be using Zoom. The Zoom lessons are scheduled to be live. However, asterisk, any type of symbol that you want to use, there's always technological difficulties or things that come up. Like, for example, tonight, a small little brief something. Please understand that we reserve the right that if there is something wrong live, that the teacher may have to record it and may have to post it later. I believe Dr. Abramson said flexibility, and that is what we're talking about right now. So we are set to go live. Zoom is live. However, sometimes it may need to be recorded for some other purpose, but the plan is to go live. Oh, but I will say specials classes during the remote learning plan, when everybody's at home, they will be both live and recorded in order to give the child that kind of change up between having, because we don't really want them to be on the computer for 6 hours and 40 minutes. That's not the plan.
The last question regarding remote learning, what is required of the parents during the remote learning model?
Okay, I want everyone to take a deep breath, okay? Because we were all in this together. We all are in this together right now. I want everyone to take a deep breath, because I think this is still our first time experiencing this. We want the child to be responsible for their learning. However, we recognize that in the very beginning, children are going to need some assistance getting on the computer. computer. We really do not want the parent there, sitting there, making sure that they are doing the work for the child. We want to make sure that the parent is there if they need some technical help. Now, I think after a few times of practice, and especially if the children are getting on every day, twice a day, we do expect this to go faster, but the gradual release of responsibility should be hopefully that the parent will not have to sit there. But we do ask in the very beginning that if you are going to be there, this is the teacher's time to connect with the children. And so you might be given some directions from the teacher that says, thanks, but you can go off a little bit. So we just respect that little time between the teacher and the child. I know that there were a lot of parents last year that really benefited from our technology department putting up some tutorials. We want to do that, and we are exploring the option of having some workshops presented throughout the year. Hopefully we can get some before the school year starts so that everyone kind of gets that little step up, a little reminder of this is Google Classroom, this is how you get onto Zoom. Although I think we're all having experience doing that, but just in case there are some people not familiar, we think that would be great.
Great. We're going to move on to some questions related specifically to the hybrid model, Tracy.
Okay.
The first one, which came up from many people, can families choose whether they want a remote learning experience or a hybrid learning experience?
So I kind of clustered that with a few more questions, because I think out of that, can they choose between a remote or a hybrid? I actually want to make sure that we're very clear with this question. I think it might be during the hybrid model, the expectation is that school's open and children are coming in. So I think the question might be, can we choose to send our child in, or can we keep them at home? Is that kind of the what we were saying?
Yes, that is
Okay.
the spirit of the question.
And I'm going to add that because I think some people, and this also is a few conversations that I've had with some families about, like, can we switch back and forth? Like, can we decide maybe we want to send our child in and then keep them home? Or can we do the reverse? Can we, I don't know, maybe say we're going to keep everybody at home and then send them in? So here's the feeling on this. The hybrid model was designed to actually work in both ways. The hybrid model allows a child to stay connected with the teacher in the classroom, so that if a child is home for any reason, maybe they're sick, maybe it's just, and again, we're not talking COVID sick, we're talking like they just have a cold, okay? Or they're not feeling well. And I know that there's a lot of discussion on how do you tell the difference between that. We had said, if you even feel the slightest bit sick, stay home. The idea is if you are home during the hybrid model, you're still going to stay connected with your teacher and your class, so you're still going to get that instruction. The question about whether or not you can choose which one, and I'm going to say, and Mrs. Catrone, you and I talk about this all the time, we do not forget that we were teachers, and we do not forget what planning is like. And what we have to do is be understanding and also think about the planning that a teacher will have to go to if a child is coming in and out all the time. So we understand if a child is sick, and we understand that there might be some times when a child is home or not. But if you're asking about whether or not a family can choose to just stay home, that is part of a larger discussion that we need to have. And I know people are calling that the remote model, but I'm preferring to call that the children are staying home and they are going to get that instruction provided to them at home on a consistent basis, not the one where they're kind of in and out. And
Taylor, can I jump in for 1 second?
Yes. You can jump in. You can jump in. Go jump in. I still have more to say. Go.
Did I break your flow? I'm sorry.
That's all right. I'm gonna remember, so it's fine.
That's all right. And it is really, I guess, more of a district question as to whether or not, I think the question is, can people sign up for remote only? And right now, I think that the general answer is we don't have a plan for remote only, but we are willing to explore that and look into that. And we do have on our right now, if you go to our reopening website, we have put a form up for which was originally designed for those who, because they're in a high risk category, are requesting the possibility of accommodations, including remote learning. So if people are feeling that way, that they're interested in remote learning or want to be considered for remote learning, I'm not saying we have it, but if they want to use that form, it is available for people to show their interest, so that we know as a district who is interested, what level of interest do we have, and can plan accordingly.
I'm so glad that you said that, Dr. Bird, because this is what I was kind of getting to, is that we need to know who's, let's just call it what it is. We realize, and we do not want to feel that anyone is pressured to send their child in if they are not comfortable, because there are things that are going on in which things are still going on in the world. We do not want anyone to feel as if there is a push that you need to send your child in, but we need to know what's going on. And I say this in your head, we need to know what's going on. So as Dr. Burns said, we need you to fill out the form, because while I was kind of just saying that we have this hybrid model for children that come in and out, we might be able to set up another type of an at-home experience with maybe a teacher who is also at home and can have that journey together. And so in order to do that, we need accurate numbers to know who's not coming in, no matter what. And if there's any possibility that you were just, you're sitting there going, you know what, I was thinking I'm not, and probably after this presentation, we might get a little bit of a rise, or we might get some changes of minds, who knows, change of mind. We have to know the numbers. So Dr. Byrne, I am so glad that you mentioned that form. And if we can mention one more time where the form is, because that is a form for anyone in the district to fill out if they would like to have their child stay home and receive instruction at home.
Yes, so it was in actually Dr. Brimstein's last letter, there was a link, but there is also a link if you go to the resources section of the website where we have the reopening information. It's actually on that pop-up now that you get when you go to the website. There's a pop-up that says, with a big exclamation point, that says click here for to view reopening information. It's on that web page. It's pretty clearly marked. I don't think you'd miss it.
Dr.
Awesome.
Byrne, I'm sorry, I'm going to interject here because this was another question. So I'm going to tie this to what you just said. Are we looking at a particular date by which we would like people to submit that information?
Well, I'd say the sooner the better. I think we're really looking for the end of the week. If you could do it by the end of the week, that would be extremely helpful, because we are planning and scheduling, which does take time and does take resources, and we want to do it right, not have to do it over and over again or try to readjust. So if you are going to do that, I would ask you please by this Friday to make sure that you do that. That would be very helpful.
And the reason why we need it also by Friday would be fantastic, because planning is what we all have been doing since July 1st, or maybe you could say March. But we have been constantly planning. But in order to get this right and get it, we want to do right by the children and right by the families and right by the teachers, because everyone's time and their time to plan, it's crucial, it's critical, it's very important. We have placement that also may need to be adjusted. And so therefore, the reason why, and this kind of ties it a little bit later, the reason why placement is pushed a little bit is we need this information in order to drive some of our placements that are crucial to children's, getting their education, the best education that we can. Okay, Mrs.
Great.
Catrone, I'm ready. I'm going to stop. Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
Tracy, if you
Yeah.
can just briefly address, we had a number of questions related to the hybrid model being a morning and afternoon model. And really two questions came out. One, a fairly quick one, how were AM and PM decided for students? And the second question is, will the assignment of an AM or PM slot be for the entire year, or will there be a possibility for that to change?
So there has been a lot of discussion as of recently about the AM PM cohorts, and I want to just put this out there as I would like to have a larger discussion. If not tonight, I think that there needs to be a discussion. I would say pretty quickly. I think it's important to talk about the fact that for right now, we need a plan that will get us going for the beginning of school. And that means that when we said no changes, that if you're AM, you're AM, if you're PM, you're PM. However, some people have brought up some things to think about, and some things that in various circles, not just parents, but also teachers, educators, about the fact that will the afternoon children ever get a morning experience? Meaning, do they ever get to wake up and go to school in the morning, just like their counterparts? And the only way that I would see that functioning is if we think about at some point doing a switch. Now, I know everyone is going to say, but I structured my everything around this. And I'm not talking about changing it tomorrow, but I'm saying that I really do believe that there needs to be a discussion and put it out there to talk about children, especially young children. And there's a lot to talk about them getting up early. So the fact that we have some children that are going to be getting up early and staying in the house, but then coming to school at 12:45, is there a possibility that the whole cohort may swap so that the afternoon cohort at some point of the year comes in the morning, and at the morning cohort at some point of the year comes in the afternoon? So I mean, I would like to have a little bit of some time to discuss. And I don't know, Dr. Brimstein, if you had anything that you wanted to share. I think I'm calling it like a cohort flip. Dr. Byrne, I don't know if there was anything that you had wanted to add, but I really think it's very important to bring it up now. The purpose of this is to have a discussion about the plan. This is something that has been brought up. It's certainly been brought up in the community, and I think it's only right to talk about that because, and Dr. Abramson, I'm quoting you again with the flexibility, but it's true. We all have to be flexible. Let's face it, there might be a time where we're talking about AM and PM cohorts and we may have to close. And I'm sorry to just take the Band-Aid off and say it like that, but it's possible. So, but I do think it would be important to have that discussion. And it might be something that is put out to the larger community about this idea of switching for the children who are afternoon to have them get a morning experience.
Great, thank you. We're going to move on
sorry.
to.
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Just quickly, because Mrs. Taylor asked for if there would be a comment. I mean, I think generally we're open. We are looking to be flexible. I mean, we're not looking to lay down the law and say, and today on August 18th, this is exactly what's going to happen for the next school year, and nothing's going to change. If there are changes that we see to the plan, and we've said this since the beginning, that would make sense, that would be reasonable, and then that are in the best interest of the children, of course, we'd consider it. So, would we consider making changes like this, or setting up some kind of schedule where we looked at maybe a mid-year switch for cohorts? Of course, I think we'd be open to anything. I think we really need to just make sure we establish for now what we're doing and make sure that's set, because we don't want to start muddying the waters and getting into areas such as you alluded to before about, requests for switching. We're not really looking to do that. We're not changing groupings or anything like that. But, if it's determined that the best thing to really do would be to change up the way students come to school or their time slot, as a group to switch AMs and PMs. We can definitely talk about that and look to do that if something that's the community is interested in.
Okay. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Tracy, we're going to move on to questions related to the academic program. The first question has to do with the fifth graders, who we know follow a little bit of a different day than the kindergarten through fourth graders. Can you briefly just speak to what the fifth graders will be doing? Will they be changing classes? Will they be using lockers? And will they, in some respect, have an opportunity to, quote, prepare for middle school?
Our fifth graders, we call them our senior bluebirds. So our fifth graders, what's really great about this is that a lot of what we have done is tried to provide that help and support and structure as they go into the middle school. So there are no lockers this year, and I'm gonna and that kind of and a lot of what we're doing this year also connects with what's being done certainly in sixth grade. You'll hear a lot more about that tomorrow night, but we are not using lockers. So when the children come into fifth grade, they're going to go right to their homeroom, the children in fifth grade normally switch around. They usually stay together for period 1 and period 2. We do periods in school, it just makes it easier for fifth grade. And so for period 1 and period 2, they're going to stay with their homeroom like they always do. I think we found in order to get, this is in the hybrid model, they are going to stay with their homeroom teacher for the first 2 periods, and they're depending upon the day, there is going to be 1 teacher switch, which means that there will be another fifth grade teacher who is instructing them in another subject to come into that class. The children are staying together, they're not moving. So that is the only switch that is going on. The children don't move, but the teacher does move. And so there is time built in for that teacher to switch. Obviously, the fifth grade program is going to stay the same. They're going to have multiple teachers for multiple subjects. Their homeroom teacher will teach them 1 subject plus 1 more. So I think that's, did I just mess it up? No, I think so. Yes, that's fine. Pretty much for the most part. Well, trust me, we're going to have little mini kindergarten and mini fifth grade orientation. We we will do that. But in speaking with this, we wanted to keep the fifth grade experience as fifth grade-ish as possible. And now when the children are home, meaning that everybody is home and everybody is remote, then they will follow their typical fifth grade schedule, and they'll be able to see their teachers of other subjects. But no lockers, they're not moving around. The one thing is that we will have 1 teacher switch, and that's it. So I think
Yes.
Yes, okay.
The next question, given the fact the children are in school for half a day, how will the teachers work to meet the teaching and learning standards that the children get what they need at a particular grade level?
So assessment drives instruction, standards also drive instruction. The teachers are going to be working together to look at the standards across the grade. And I'm going to use the words primary and secondary because there are some that the children must master by the end. And then there are some standards that are kind of weaved throughout, and not weaved throughout, but I want to say secondary in nature, which means it's not to be mastered necessarily by the end of the year, but it is something that they need to touch upon. What's really wonderful is that the teachers, when they plan, are taking a look at these standards, and there are some that go across certain subjects. So they are looking to maximize the most of those primary standards and just make sure those are really captured in essence when the children are in that 2.5 hours. And that's not to say that the secondary is not important, but what will happen is that those will be weaved throughout other lessons. There will be some assignments and some activities that are posted to the Google Classroom, but the bottom line is that the teachers are looking at the standards together, and they are looking to see which ones are the ones that must be mastered, and those are the ones that are taking that primary role right now.
Thank you. The next cluster of questions had to do with language arts and math enrichment classes. So what is the plan for these classes? Will these classes be individual or in groups? And will there be some kind of assessment done to take a look at which kids may be placed into enrichment classes?
So the enrichment classes are going to be conducted remotely. We are looking to keep the cluster of students that would normally attend together. We're looking to keep them together. However, there might be some projects and activities that they could work on independently, but we are looking to cluster those students together. We are looking to do assessments when we have the hybrid model. We are looking to do STAR reading, STAR math. We are looking to do other school assessments that we give out. I know Mr. Thomas normally gives out his math assessment to the students, and so we're hoping to do that and looking forward to doing that in school. If for some reason we are going remote, we're going to need some help at home to make sure that when the children, and this really goes for any work that's done at home, please have the children do it by themselves, because it becomes very difficult to get any type of level for a child's performance if there's a lot of help going on. So we need to see what the child can do without assistance in order to best meet their needs. Because if they're always getting help at home, then that level might not necessarily be the level that we're at. So we kind of are asking everyone to be a little guide, but not necessarily be so hands-on that the assessment cannot be completed without the help of an adult. And then we kind of need to know that. And I think that kind of answers that.
Thank you. What will be going on in the school and the teachers? What will they be doing to promote this social and emotional connectedness between students and their new teachers? We recognize that it's a brand new school year, unlike the spring where the children had made a connection with teachers. We're starting brand new. So what kinds of things will happen to help build that connectedness?
Well, I think that's a very big, it's important. I think I started out my video saying that connection was very important. In fact, both plans emphasize the connection between the teacher and the student. So the first thing that we're going to do is try to ease the students into school, slowly build that connection with their teacher with a meet and greet. The meet and greet, just very loosely, you're going to get a scheduled date and also 2-hour session that you're going to bring your child to. Your child is going into the school. You, as a parent, you're coming with me. So we're going to do a little orientation in the back so that we can go over a few things. But your child is going to be coming to school to be with the teacher in the very beginning, to build that connection, to start getting to know you, going over protocols, procedures, things like that, bathroom, all of that. But then no matter what model you're in, we want to maintain morning meetings, feedback, just that being able to see your teacher every day, being able to hear your teacher read a story, being able to have your teacher be in front of you in the classroom, and being able to try to communicate as much as possible that experience that you really can't get except directly from the person. We want to make sure that we have experiences in which the children can connect to one another. So it's not just teacher heavy. We're all learning Zoom, and I don't know if you've been in a breakout room before. It's pretty cool. At some point in a breakout room, no matter, and I know middle school, high school has done this, but we've done this in the elementary school, and it's really great in a breakout room. So when the teacher has the Zoom on, the students can actually go into a room, and the teacher kind of pops in, kind of gives you that little experience as if a teacher was popping in around the classroom. But it's a really great way to have the children connect. A lot of our technology involves a shared experience. I know a lot of the older students can work on presentations together for Google Slides. So there is that connection piece. That's really the whole point. We lose that without having school. And it makes me sad to say how it used to be. But school looks a lot different now. And if this is school, that relationship and those connections are very important. So that we still are going to have our chirping bluebirds and our morning announcements and our theme weeks, and our Magic Circle program will come to everyone in a capacity that's going to be the best way to reach everybody. So that's really kind of in a nutshell what we kind of want to continue.
Great, thank you. Mrs. Taylor, will parents need to be printing up materials, or will they be available for pickup at the school?
Okay, so we have certainly spent some extra funds. Jonathan, Dr. Ross, do not worry. It was in my budget. Don't worry. But we have felt that there was a need to provide some materials that do not have to be printed, because listen, this was a very quick thing that happened last year. And so a lot of schools were sending a lot of things home and needed to be printed, and we're respecting printers and ink and the environment, and also just being kind maybe to copy machines, but and also respectful of people's time, because that takes time and ink. So we have a lot of books and materials that we are going to give to the children, no matter what the model is. We're starting out hybrid. So at this time, it means that the children will get those materials. If there are children who are going to be at home, we will make sure we get those materials to you. And there might be some type of additional pickup or something. Oh, Dr. Brimstein, did you want to say, you're saying hello? Did you want to jump in?
Yes, I would love to. I just want to just emphasize for clarity that any resources that are needed to keep our students safe will be expended appropriately to do so. So there's never a worry about us making sure that we have ample protective equipment and cleaning in place, because we recognize that the health of our community is at stake in so much as the education of our children. They are interconnected. I just wanted to clarify that, so thank you.
So I think, yes, so I think we're also looking at, those, any materials that the children need will be given to them or will be provided at home. Maybe via Bluebird delivery, maybe. Okay.
Great. Will children be penalized for not participating in live specials classes? This would be the art, music, phys ed, computer classes, that if a child does not participate live, is that a problem?
So we are here to educate the whole child. And some of you who might, love to sing or love to create and love to make and love to do, please know that there's last time when we were transitioning in March to an unexpected situation, I think everybody was trying to get through. They were trying to get through it. And I think everybody was, and I hear an echo right now, Mr. Berg. Thank you. So I think I think everybody was trying to get through what they could do. You must have levity in life. That's what my father said. I'm just saying, and I really hope that people are not thinking that I'm minimizing anything at all. But you just must have levity through this. Okay. Specials. The expectation is that children are attending specials. The expectation is that children are completing specials work. And the expectation is that there will be time to do so. But when something is due, it's due. And we want to be able to provide the children with that extra outlet, that extra creative piece. And so if you're asking if someone's going to be penalized for that, here's the thing. If you are scheduled to be in school and you don't show up for class, we get a little bluebird nutty, no pun intended with the nutty because we don't have nuts in school, but I'm just saying that we get a little bluebird frenzy wondering where you are. So you might get an email from the specials teacher saying, hey, haven't seen you. Is everything okay? And if there's any type of a concern about completing assignments or logging in or something being too much, we ask that you please communicate that with the specials teacher. It will be reflected in the report card because we are getting report cards this year. They're happening in January, they're happening in June. We will be having parent-teacher conferences virtually. I'm telling you right now, just they're virtual. But please know that, it will be noted that your child is not attending. It will be noted that your child is not participating. We hope that we can find that balance.
Tracy, what are the plans for open house this year?
It's going to be virtual. That's definitely happening. Nobody's coming in the building, so it will be virtual. We'll let you know.
The next cluster of questions is related to special education and support services. So, Mr. Berg, your timing is absolutely perfect. And so, Harry, I'm gonna direct these questions to you.
Good evening. Hello.
Hi, Harry. If you can briefly explain how special education services will be handled in the remote and hybrid models.
Okay, just to piggyback on what Tracy already said, in the remote model, fully remote, one of the kind of enhancements that we've made to the delivery of service from the unfortunate March to June closure is that in the remote model, we are looking to have a homeroom enrichment period established and a regular schedule established. So in the remote model, the delivery of these special education services, many of which happened during that HRE period, would continue to happen on a regularly scheduled basis. There's also regular meeting times for both ELA and math. So teacher consultant services in those areas could also happen on a more regular scheduled manner. So in the remote manner, you're looking at sort of regularly scheduled services. We're also looking to provide those services via video conferencing to the extent possible, as I stated in my other piece before. So we're looking to kind of learn from what we did in the previous closure and to do it better, as when it was done well, to kind of replicate that as much as possible. In the hybrid model, it's a little new, it's new to us, and in terms of the 2.5 hours a day that the students will be in school, one of our sort of priorities in special education is always to include our students with disabilities with their non-disabled peers. So we're really looking to sort of accentuate that time. Any of the push-in services, such as the consultant teacher services or any of the consults from the related services, would obviously happen during that 2.5 hour block, either in the morning or afternoon that students are in. The other thing, and so what we're looking then to do for some of the related services or special class programs or resource room programs, we're looking to offer them opposite the 2.5-hour block that your child's in school. So if it happens like that, and we're looking to offer those services either remote or in person. One of the expressions they use in special education is one special education student is one special education student. So we're looking to offer the choice there. We may have some students and families who, would prefer to have services done in a remote capacity, and we may have students and families that prefer or would like as much in-person possibilities. So we are going to facilitate those students coming in sort of opposite their cohort for special education services if people choose to do that, and that would be done, keeping them as safe and protected from the other cohort of students. But we feel that that's something we could offer. We've been working diligently over the summer, offering in-person evaluations and following protocols. We're one of the only people, and also serving any other students who have out of district special education needs. So we feel like that is something that we could offer, if we have that ability to do so. Is there something? And does
Nope.
that answer the question?
That answers the question. Thank
Okay,
you
thank
very
you.
much, Harry. The next question has to do with technology, and I'd like to direct it to Mr. Von Hollen. And the question is, will there be technology available for students to take home during remote learning? And if so, when and how would that happen?
Thank you. It's an excellent question. Over the last 2 days, we've sent out 2 email communications to families, as we understand from the springtime that there may be some requests for students to have some devices at home as parents and guardians need to complete work. So therefore, the district is able to or desires to meet all requests as possible. We have a limited amount of Chromebooks that we can provide, which are repurposed from the middle school and high school one-to-one program. So it is not a requirement that a student has a Chromebook, rather just a device that has an internet connection and can work with the majority of apps such as Zoom and Google Classroom. So some families have reached out saying that they have a new MacBook, a new iPad, or a regular computer for their students. That's perfectly fine. It's really the goal of the form that was sent out was just to gather information for those families that are in immediate need of devices. So I sent out a clarification today to explain that, as there was some miscommunication or misunderstandings from the first day. Once we have all of those requests as they come in, we'll be working closely with Jennifer Vasquez, our technology staff developer, over the next week to organize all requests and students' devices as we prepare for the start of the school year. And we'll communicate, I would say by middle of next week, if all requests are met, and then also pickups and logistics on that. So right now we're in the data gathering portion, but we certainly do hope to meet requests, and I appreciate families that have reached out. And by all means, if there are any additional questions, please feel free to email me.
Great, thank you.
Can I just wanted, I left off one bit, which is very pertinent to special ed services in both the remote and the hybrid model. Is that, and it was mentioned in my short piece, but it's very important when people are thinking about what their child's special education services may look like in either model, is that the services will be provided in an equitable manner to those on the IEP. So that one of the things that New York State did allow us to do in providing special education services was to, again, sort of cut them up if necessary in an equitable manner in terms of timing, in terms of class ratios. So something like if you had a resource room of 4 students that met in a 6-day cycle, you may meet individually with the students in the equitable capacity. Or if you had a ratio of 2 to 1 for 30 minutes, twice a week, your child may have a service individual for 30 minutes once a week. So those are ways that we're able to keep students safe, provide them with appropriate services, very individualized services, but it may not be equal to exactly what you see on your child's IEP. The same thing may happen with teacher consultant services when the cohort is cut now into 2 cohorts. So those are the things that we're going to do. We're going to keep a very close eye on it in terms of providing those services. We also are offering, for any of our students who are assigned to go to special classes, we will be making all efforts practicable to have those students have in-person services if that's something that a child and a parent so choose. So I think those are areas that we're going to be working, and we're also going to be monitoring the progress of students. So if there's students who are not making appropriate progress, those are students that will be looking to enhance their services or review their programs. So that's just, like I said, that is sort of the same pieces that are in the special ed handbook for anybody, but anyone's here for one-stop shopping. Those are really important takeaways in terms of special education services. And I'd also encourage, I don't know if there's any other special ed questions, but I would encourage anybody they can reach out to me or Jennifer Herlihy. And we look forward to working with you, your children, and reconnecting you with your case managers and your providers.
Great, thank you. The next category of questions is related to the classroom. So Tracy, could you explain to us what an elementary classroom might look like this year with regard to things like the layout of the classroom, the number of students, the number of adults, how will the furniture be arranged so that we can socially distance? Will there be sinks available, snacks, water bottles? So what will the children be experiencing in the classroom in terms of the physical layout and the management of the room?
So the physical layout, I know I mentioned, I'm going to have to put that up after this. I have taken some pictures, but just to let you know that we are looking at classes of about 20, which means that there would be 10 children in a morning cohort and 10 children in an afternoon cohort. Some of our older grades can have 11 or 12 in a morning or an afternoon. So if you are in a class K through 2, you can expect anywhere up to about 10 seats in a classroom. And then if you are in grades 3 to 5, you can expect anywhere from 10 to 12 seats in a classroom. All of the desks and tables are 6 feet apart according to where someone is sitting. And it has been recommended that everybody faces forward. So it is a very traditional setting. It is different in that children will be bringing their own materials. We're not having communal materials to share, and that when the children are seated in the classroom, they are wearing their mask. The rooms are big enough to allow for this 10 or 12 seating. So I don't want anyone to be concerned about that. Right now, there is no, first of all, I want to just talk about plexiglass because this is a very big thing. Plexiglass cannot be used in school. It is not fire rated. The material is polycarbonate. And so that particular material is going to be put up in high traffic areas, certainly in the by the school monitor desk, certainly in the main office, certainly in some other spaces. We right now do not have plans to put polycarbonate partitions up. We don't have that plan, but we do have the ability to purchase these clear partitions, which will allow for kind of another barrier should we do that. Every child would get their own. It is not hard. It's not going to hurt someone, but it is a clear partition because the whole point is to be able to see. Most of our classrooms have sinks in them. We do have some classrooms that do not have sinks, but they are near a class. They are near a bathroom. As we mentioned, Purell, it is all over. So we will make sure that there are breaks for children to take breaks to go to the bathroom. Certainly if they need to wash their hands, Purell after they touch something, if they need to, kind of unbelievable that we're talking about this, but this is the world that we're in now. It's 2.5 hours, no snacks. I know I'm disappointing some bluebirds, but no snacks. You'll be fine. I just want you to know, I went to school all day. I didn't have a snack. You'll be fine. Water bottles, we're asking that you please bring a water bottle and put your name on it. We want to make sure it gets to you. We don't want to have a lost and found water bottle collection. I guarantee that that will be there all year, and I don't think we're donating a water bottle. So please, please, please put your name on the water bottles. We do have some handy dandy new water stations in the hallways to help with the refill. Mrs. Catrone, did I get to all of that?
You did get to all of that. I'm going to ask a question. You mentioned that materials will not be shared. So will students have to bring their own materials back and forth each day?
We're looking right now on doing that. We are. We're not looking at anything being kept in the classroom. So we're looking at the backpacks being brought back and forth. So that's really what we're doing. We're in terms of what's going to be required every day, I think that's going to be an ongoing discussion. But for right now, the plan is that we are bringing things back and forth. That may change. I may be getting a ton of questions right now. What are you saying, Tracy? But for right now, we are planning on bringing them back and forth.
Great, thank you. As you know, Tracy, we have several safety drills that we do during the year. We have fire drills, we have lockdown drills. Will we be conducting those drills this year, and how will they be happening, and how might it look different?
We are conducting the safety drills. As I mentioned in the video, with all of this going on, we are still responsible for fire drills and lockdown drills. The difference though, and I had asked for clarification, is that a fire drill will be conducted during the school day. It will be announced and we will be going outside like we normally do. If it is conducted in the morning, it counts as one drill. If it's conducted in the afternoon, it's counted as a second drill. So we still have to do 12 drills a year. So we will be doing those throughout the year. We are mandated to do 4 lockdown drills, and those will be done. Now, I know you probably have seen a lot of things out there in terms of that when you do a lockdown drill, you're kind of huddled or together in a corner. That is not happening. The children will actually be in their seat, and the teacher will point over to the area which they would go to if, God forbid, there was anything. And I can't believe that we're talking about this, but that is the world that we're living in right now, and we have to be prepared. So those drills will be conducted.
Great. What is the plan for utilizing outdoor space during the day, either for a teaching purpose or for a playtime for children?
So we have limited space. Certainly we have limited space because of construction. In the front, we do have some grassy areas, and in the back, we do have access to the blacktop and the field. That will have to be coordinated, but it also will be instructionally based, and it could also include a mask break that is also outside. I know mask breaks have been talked about a lot, and we will go into that, but that is something, a time in which the children will have to be physically distanced. And I'm going to give a shout out to one teacher, Bluebird, who said to me, you know, about the word socially distanced, kind of responds like they're not going to be social. And so it really, when you're physically distanced, I guess you could say you're maintaining that 6 feet of distance. So that is the plan. If we are utilizing outside, we're not restricted, but we do want to control the traffic getting in and out.
The next group of questions, Tracy, has to do with staffing.
Okay.
and regarding teachers coming to school and what happens when teachers do not come to school. So the first question is, if a teacher does not return to school, does that mean that the children in that class will be with a teacher who's only teaching remotely?
So this connects earlier to what Dr. Byrne and I were talking about this form. See, if we know that there are children that are not planning on coming back at all, the thing that we would like to do is pair them up with possibly a teacher who would have a similar experience that they could both connect with remotely. And so we do not want a situation where we have a child coming to school and that there will be a television screen for them to turn on to and see that teacher. But what we are doing is trying to pair up the teachers that will be physically in school with the children who will be physically in school. And with the kind of the input and the numbers that we get, we hope to possibly pair some children with some children who are going to be working at home with some teachers who will be working from home. If it's, did you ask about?
The second part of that question would be, if a teacher is sick, short term, long term, any kind of sick, will the students be provided with a substitute in a remote learning plan or in a hybrid learning plan? So how will that work?
So I think we played with both ideas. Certainly the substitutes that come in have got to be able to work the Google Classroom or be able to work technology. So we have to make sure that happens. If a teacher is sick, we have had situations where the teacher was still able to post assignments, still able to post lessons that are comparable. They may not be able to actually get in touch with the teacher, which is why I think that you and I are going to be exploring a little bit more of a structured setup, that if a teacher is out, to have something more specific about having somebody coming in and possibly taking over to provide that interaction. And also if the children are coming into school, we physically need somebody in school. So that's something.
At this time, do we have a good idea of how many teachers are planning on returning?
So I am going to give this to Dr. Brimstein.
Yeah, let me help you out there, Mrs. Taylor. You're doing a wonderful job. I just want to make sure that everybody knows how hard you've worked and how hard Lori's worked on this. And I'm very proud to call you my teammates. Yeah, so this is where it gets really, really tricky. And I think Dr. Abramson said this really vastly. Everyone's particular situations are different. And we need to recognize that and have patience and understanding of what those needs are, and how we put all these pieces together is, quite frankly, constantly moving, which is why it's so difficult to communicate with the kind of clarity we would like to. It's just difficult. So let me just be very transparent and try to explain to you the challenges we have here. So there are a variety of reasons, very credible reasons why someone might not be able to expose themselves to a high-risk situation. That may be their own immune system issues, maybe that of a loved one at home who has immune issues, and maybe other related health concerns. So obviously those issues we deal with on a confidential basis, but what we're really trying to do is we identify teachers who potentially would be working from a home office situation, is to make sure that, as Mrs. Taylor said really, really clearly, we don't want 20 kids coming into class to look at a television screen projection of a teacher any more than we want a teacher come into an empty room with 20 students. So if we can match those up in a way proactively, that's really in the best interest of everyone. And then of course the appropriate adjustments have to be made in the classes throughout the rest of the grade level. So we're trying to do that. We're contemplating how to do that. And we're trying to get just a sense from our parents who might be considering this as a desirable option. And that's why we created that form that's available. And so, you know, as we get that data, those information to figure out what to do, if we find a way of making a smooth connection between a teacher who we know is likely to be out and a group of students who are likely to be out. We're going to try to arrange things so that it's as least disruptive as possible, because what we recognize here is that we're trying to minimize disruption. We're trying to introduce more consistency. We're trying to introduce, obviously, quality. And we want that consistency not only for our students, but also for our parents. So I'm not sure if I addressed all the pieces of that, but if not, just let me know and I can elaborate.
Thank you. Mrs. Taylor, the teachers in the classroom are going to be certainly teaching, but they're also going to be monitoring and enforcing some of these protocols in place. And also there will be additional kind of cleaning requirements. Is there any plan for there to be additional aides in the classroom to assist?
We have a very dedicated teacher aide community. They are amazing and awesome, and they help out everybody. And we thank them tremendously. They are huge people, huge personalities, and we love them. And so they will be with us this year in various capacities, certainly helping out at the entrances when children are coming into school, at exits when they are leaving school. They are going to be throughout the hallway station to make sure that everybody is walking with that 6 feet of distance between each other, making sure that when they're going to the bathroom, they're not going to be in the bathroom, but they are going to be outside going like, oh, I didn't hear the water. You got to wash your hands. So they're very good at that. And our school monitors as well. So they're, we are tremendously lucky that we will be able to have some aides that are going to be helping us throughout, throughout the time.
Great, thank you. The next section of questions had to do with cleaning. And you, Tracy, addressed many of them in your video related to the cleaning in the building, some of the products that were going to be used. There was one question that came up from several families, and that is there enough time for a thorough cleaning to be done in between the morning cohort and the afternoon cohort? And would we be able to reasonably ensure that these protocols are in place so that the children in the morning have the same level of safety as children in the afternoon?
So I can answer that. I want to make sure that I'm not stepping on Dr. Ross's toes by answering that. So, but I am going to start off and just say that in speaking with Luis Rodriguez and Luis Greco, they are our maintenance foreman for the district and also our respective head custodian here. They are going to be using all of the products. All the products will be available. Now, I know that there was a lot of discussion, which we are very lucky to have our custodians as bus drivers. So how could they drive the bus and clean the school? We are very fortunate to, we are going to be hiring additional custodians to come in the middle of the day to clean. I have been assured that an hour and a half to have this additional staff dedicated to separate wings of the building would certainly be able to get into the classrooms, the desks, the tables, certainly the bathrooms. I don't want to say the bathrooms are not being cleaned, but that's going to be cleaned on a more often basis for sure, clean more often. But we're looking at light switches. That electrostatic sprayer is going to be huge. The Clorox, certainly the wipes. There are additional materials that in terms of the products that I am sure that we can get those additional names out. But we have been assured that there are enough people to clean. A lot of these products need to stay on surfaces untouched, not for hours at a time, but for certainly specific minutes. There's certain products that need a little bit longer than others. And so we are going to be given that time, but we are especially grateful that the district is hiring additional staff to come in and clean in the areas. Again, bathrooms are a whole different bird, but that is, specifically all of the very highly used areas, the stairwells, it will all be clean.
Great. I'm actually going to segue to the bathrooms.
That was a very big question, yes.
That was a big question. It got its own category. And most of the questions have been answered related to supervision. You just answered the questions about that we will have certainly people cleaning the bathrooms. I know your video said that they will be cleaned hourly. Tracy, at this point, how many functioning bathrooms can we expect to have ready for when staff and students return?
So when staff and students return, the bathrooms that will be functioning are the ones that are located certainly in each hallway. So we have a set of boys and girls bathrooms in the main hallway, which is, you could almost say, the main office second grade wing. We have a set of bathrooms that are going to be functioning downstairs in the kindergarten wing. We have a set of boys and girls bathroom that are going to be functioning in the hallway by the first and third grade wing. We have a set of bathrooms that are going to be functioning in the fourth grade wing. In addition, there's also 2 staff bathrooms that are individual. And we do have a set of bathrooms that will be functioning downstairs in the 5th grade wing. And let's not forget the nurses' bathrooms. There are 2 bathrooms that are in the nurse's office, and those all will be functioning when we are back at school.
Great, thank you. With regard to our next category, arrival and dismissal, you addressed many of these things in your video. You provided the plans. You spoke about the social distancing, the masks, the different doorways. There were 2 sort of specific questions. One, at this time, what are we thinking in terms of how early students can be dropped off at school? Mm-hmm. And the second one having to do with the possibility of students walking to school or walking home.
So the first thing I'm going to say about arrival is that at this time, we would really prefer that the children come as close to the start of school as possible, so that when they come in the building, they're coming in and they're going right to their classroom. We are not looking for children to come in at 7:45 and wait around, but we might have some scenarios in which that, and we probably have to speak to some individual families, but I'd like to see actually how many families are in need of that early morning. We've always offered that, but that's something to think about in this scenario. We are looking at coordinating the buses to get here close to the start of school, and to have the children, once they come in, go right to the classroom. So I want to say that the arrival part and the dismissal part are probably going to work a little slower in the beginning, but the hope is that it will be close to the start of school. So I'm kind of uncomfortable saying an exact time. If I say like 8:15, I don't want people to hold it to me. If I say 8:20, don't hold it to me, because it'll be a very difficult thing to see that in 10 minutes we can get everybody in, because we are anticipating, you and I both know this, Mrs. Catrone, that there probably will be a lot more cars that are going to be on our campus. And truly, we need to get the children safely out of the car and into the building in an orderly fashion. And with construction going on, I think we need some, as I mentioned, I know dismissal is going to need some extra stuff, but arrival arrival's better than dismissal, but arrival is definitely going to be something that we're hoping we can solidify a little bit more times when we get there.
And Tracy, the walkers,
Yes, sorry. So walkers are still fine. We do need permission slips because we do need to know who is walking home, and we always allow, I mean, fifth graders, no problem. However, we need a permission slip, and I know some fourth graders have asked to, walk home with their younger sibling. Just need to understand that they will not be supervised once they kind of leave the school property. So really think about that in terms of walking home. We definitely need a permission slip.
Thank you. We have some questions about the buses. Particularly, can students opt out from taking the bus? What is the capacity of the bus? How will students be seated on the bus? And so I don't know if you would like to answer that, or perhaps Dr. Ross would like to answer that.
Just want to make sure, Dr. Ross, is he still here?
Yeah, I'm here. Sure.
Oh, great.
Okay, so we're opting out, that was addressed, or would you like me to address that?
If you could address that, please.
Certainly a parent has a right not to have their child ride a school bus. And in fact, typically year to year at the Ridge Street School, we see about 70, it varies, but on average, about 70% of eligible students actually ride buses. And so we already have that happening. So in the case of, COVID operations or pandemic operations, if you will, with the hybrid schedule, I do anticipate that there will be an increase in the number of students that are not going to ride buses, but it's hard to predict. But you can generally assume that opting out will occur. So therefore, short answer to this question is yes. Your parent has that right to opt out for their child or on behalf of their child riding the bus.
Dr. Ross, how will the children be seated on the bus to maintain social distancing, and what would the capacity of the bus be?
Well, buses that we have buses that generally will accommodate 66 children total or 72 children total based on 3 to a seat capacity. We're not going to do that. We're scheduling for 1 child per seat, and where there are siblings can sit together. So by splitting the runs in half, we essentially have reduced the number of children riding, and we anticipate that we will be fine, especially at Ridge Street School with the schedule of buses that we will have running. And this should be known that what we basically are doing is we're putting 2 buses on each run for the morning and 2 buses on each run for the afternoon. So that is why we have half of our buses coming in the morning. In the morning, we have 5 buses coming in, the number 6, and will be coming in the entire morning session. And then in the afternoon, we'll have 4 buses coming in. So we don't expect any problems based on the anticipated ridership and the number of students that have been scheduled as of now.
Great, thank you very much. We had another question connected somewhat to dismissal, and that was whether or not the district is working with any outside groups to arrange for possible child care or after-school care. At this time, Dr. Byrne, would you like to address that question?
Sure. So at this time, we're really not working with anyone in terms of setting up childcare, whether it is during the day or after school. We did talk to the village about after school programs and really determined that unfortunately it doesn't really make sense with our attempting to keep students in specific cohorts and groups and classes and really isolate them to then go to an after school program on our premises that then mixes students or brings in students from outside. So right now we really don't have any plans for an after school program, also on-site childcare. I know we talked about that, but I just don't with the need to use all our spaces to really social distance our students. I don't see how we would have a space that would allow us to actually to house or run childcare in the district. I will say though that what you can do, especially if you're an essential worker, is Westchester County does assist with childcare. And what I'll do is I'll look to make sure I put the contact information for that on our website. So that way, if parents are interested in that and want to reach out to the county, they do have some resources that you can contact so you can find childcare if you need it.
Great, thank you. At this time, we have two categories left, and I would like to address both of them. I think they're of concern to our families. There were many, many questions in these two categories. The first one is related to procedures and protocols regarding COVID and what happens if a child tests positive, what happens with an outbreak, what systems are in place. And the last category has to do with the construction at Ridge Street and how the construction may be impacting the reopening plans. So I'd like to ask DJ Goldman to speak to the questions and some of the key points related to the protocols with COVID.
Absolutely. Thanks, Lori. A lot of the guidance that we're seeing from the New York State education document references back to information from the CDC. So that's where a lot of our information comes. Also, we are receiving a lot of information from the Westchester County and the New York State Department of Health. So those are the two main bodies that we've been working with. So I'll try my best to categorize a lot of the questions. So as it relates to testing and contact tracing, the school district will be following the New York State Education Department guidance, especially cooperating with the Westchester County Department of Health as it relates to COVID testing and contact tracing efforts. The current guidance does say that schools are not asking the community to get tests prior to attending school. So I know that that was something that did come up, and as per the latest guidance that was released, it is not asking the community to take part in. One of the issues about positive tests is that the quarantining or closing of schools, and as I believe Tracy said earlier, it is a school district decision. But again, we will be working in conjunction with the Department of Health since they are the main point of contact anytime there is a positive test. So as the Department of Health discovers their findings, the school district will be working with them. The current thresholds, I know that that was a previous question that came up, indicated by the Department of Health determining whether a school remains open or closed. If everybody can remember back to the phased in approach that began with New York Pause, it still remains the measure that's being used. So the current thresholds indicated by the Department of Health says that if the infection rate remains below 5% over a 14-day average, you can remain open. And also Governor Cuomo mentioned that if the regional rate, so again, we're in that mid-Hudson region, so not necessarily Blind Brook specific, but all of Westchester County and other counties in our proximity, says that if the regional rate increases to 9%, then Governor Cuomo will be closing all schools in that region. So the best way for us to try and work anytime there is a positive case of COVID, based upon the contact tracing measures, anyone that is positive or was in contact with a COVID positive case should be remaining at home. Contact tracing is going to be led, like I said, by the Westchester County Department of Health. The school district's going to do its best job to try and assist the county with their work. And also any people who were in contact with a person for a positive test should quarantine. And it's from the guidance indicating that it should be a 14-day quarantine. I think that, you know, like Tracy mentioned earlier, there have been lots of questions about individuals who feel sick. And as Dr. Abramson said, the most important thing, especially this year, if you are not feeling well, it's important to stay home. We do have, as Charles Von Hollen said earlier, the attestation online application, which is going to have to be submitted each day, which is going to confirm a child is free of symptoms and free of a fever in excess of 100 degrees. Also, the school will be performing random temperature checks just to ensure that parents are submitting accurate information through the app. And if during the course of the school day, someone is displaying any symptoms of being ill, the child will go to the nurse, and then the school nurse will be performing an assessment. Like I said earlier, any sick children will be sent home. We just can't take the chance in having any sick people, whether it's a child or a staff member, inside the school building. Um, it will be considered safe to return to school when the family can answer affirmatively to all questions on that attestation app. So, the CDC and New York State Ed at this time does not require a medical note for any return to school, but that safeguard is that attestation app, which will ask a lot of questions about what's really transpired within the last 14 days. And I think one of the best recommendations that we can make is if any parent at any time is in doubt of whether or not your child has COVID, it's really best to just get tested out of an abundance of caution. And then from the Department of Health, their instruction basically says that while you are waiting for that result to come back in, the entire household should remain on a home quarantine. So it is important that even though you might be feeling better, it's not that you're out of the clear quite yet. So it's important to remember to stay quarantined and follow, anything that the Department of Health is really releasing as far as guidance. I know that Tracy was talking earlier about the importance of communication with the child's teacher anytime there is an absence, whether it's you're just feeling sick or you have a COVID case. Really making sure that we communicate with the child's teacher of record anytime there are absences to make sure that we can ensure that continuity of learning. And the child's health is really our most important consideration in all these matters. And we really recommend taking time to recover and get well at home, as we would normally, want for our students. If you're feeling sick and you need to sleep and you might miss some class time, that's where the information between the teacher and the family is so important to make sure that students don't fall far behind, but at the same time, we make sure that we can get well. I think one of the issues that I did, hear from a lot of what Tracy was talking and also Dr. Abramson was about facial coverings, and how important it is to wear them at all times. And I know that Ms. Taylor was saying that there will be periodic mask breaks that are going to be implemented for classrooms, but the face covering really should be worn as often as possible. I think that if there's ways for teachers to implement it, they're really going to be able to figure things out, ways to do it safely. For instance, in the course of the 2.5 hours while instruction is going on, either in the AM or the PM cohort, there would probably be times where one individual student would be able to remove their mask to take a break, while other students are then called on to participate. And then after the period if time is over, then that student can put the mask back on, and then another student could take it off. So that's just one example of what a mask break might look like. I think another piece to the puzzle with facial coverings is what an appropriate facial covering actually looks like. So we want to make sure that it has multiple layers of fabric. We want to make sure that it covers your nose and mouth, and we want to make sure that it fits appropriately and securely. And if there are any, students who are trying to enter the school without an appropriate face covering, as Tracy said, we have lots in stock, so we will be able to supply them, prior to anyone coming into the building. I know that there's been some recent media attention to specific facial coverings. So 2 examples that would not be acceptable facial coverings would be those neck gaiters and also bandanas, simply because they do not have multiple layers within the facial covering. So that's important for everybody to understand what appropriate facial coverings actually are. As far as enforcing the facial covering, we want to do our best to communicate with families. If people in the classrooms are identifying whether it's a teacher or an aide or some other supervisory person is identifying that students are having issues, we want to be able to communicate that with families. We also want to make sure that we have signage in place, just reminding students how important it is to keep their face coverings on as often as possible. Again, the communication with the parents is going to be essential. And I think that if there are repeated occurrences of students not following mask protocol, or if there are purposeful removal of masks, then at that point, I think the classroom teacher or building administration will have to take into consideration other consequences, whether they're outlined in the family guidebook or the district code of conduct. But again, we don't want to resort to that. We're always going to rely on that communication with the family first. Also, it's going to be best for students to come in with at least 3 masks per day, only just in case something falls on the floor, something breaks. We believe that those 3 masks would be a sufficient number. And like I said before, the district will have in its possession to provide masks to any children who are in need. And then I think the last thing that I really want to talk about is that this is not an independent decision that the district is making. We've been hugely appreciative of the members of the medical advisory committee, who's been assisting us, like Dr. Abramson said, since back in March, to help our district with best practices, especially observed that they're seeing within the medical community. And then also we have our classroom teachers, we have our professional staff members, and we also have resources in some of our local agencies that are going to be able to assist any children or families who are in need of social, emotional, and or mental support. So I think one of the great takeaways here is continuing to be flexible. The district is going to continue to monitor updates as guidance documents are released and information comes out of the different governing bodies. And also we will continue to consult with professionals to remain flexible in all of the planning that's going on for the school year.
Great, DJ. Thank you so much for that very comprehensive explanation, and you answered a lot of questions.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I know that we're coming to the end of our time here. We do have just one more question in the category related to the construction project. And I'd like to ask Dr. Ross to just respond to the question regarding the status of the construction project. And really, when I look at all of the questions, they seem to focus around whether or not the ventilation system at the Ridge Street School is sufficient to keep the staff and students safe.
Yes, the current status of the project is I guess the best way to put it is we've been somewhat disappointed with the progress up until probably 2 months ago. We've been waiting for the steel to go up, the superstructure to go up for the new additions, and all of that work that is connected with it. It's now going up, obviously. You've seen the photos, even a recent news article in the Westmore News showed a photo of the rear end of the 10 classroom new addition going up. So things are moving along now. We do, though, anticipate that substantial completion of the new additions and essentially the entire project, all infrastructure work inside will likely not conclude until the summer of 2021. So that needs to be understood. But all inside construction work that is currently going on in each of the 3 wings, existing 3 wings in the building, are wrapping up as we speak. They're moving along the front classrooms and steam room classrooms in the when I say steam room, I mean music, art, and maker space. Those new rooms, the 3 new rooms in the front of the 50 wing are now just about all complete. The corridor work is just about completed as well. Into the 55 wing, we are doing the necessary window work in the last 2 classrooms, in 28 and 29. Those are the classrooms that will see that the windows that used to face out in the courtyard are now blocked because of the stairwell that was constructed over the last month or so. So we need to put two windows in each of those rooms. And that's ongoing as we speak. All of the bathrooms in the 55 wing will be completed by the end of this week. And in the 1965 wing, all of the bathrooms, the 4 bathrooms that are not done yet, will be done by the end of next week. The 2 faculty bathrooms are done. So once we get the bathrooms done, we'll essentially be done with all of the work inside the building. As I look at this list, I'll just go down, if you don't mind, Lori and Tracy. It says, how does construction impact the reopening of schools or the reopening plan? I don't believe that it will affect the opening of school. All construction during the school year will take place in and around the new additions, and all work inside will be done by August 31st, Monday. There may be an instance or two where we're doing punch list items into the first week of September, but we are anticipating that this year there will be no problems with having the school ready by the official start of the school year, although there has been changes as a result of the reopening plan. The filtration systems at Ridge Street schools, by September 8th, the new mechanical systems, including air conditioning, will be functioning in the 1950 wing. That's the front building, the old gym and the new gym. The new system in the 1955 wing will not come online until next summer. The new systems are a major upgrade from the old systems. They all will feature MERV 13 filtration and positive ventilation at all times. For now, in the 55 wing, we will continue to have window air conditioners, windows that open and close, and continue to have high efficiency portable air cleaners. And these air cleaners will also be in all other rooms that we had set up last year. They'll still be there this year. It looks like that was a good addition. So we're going to continue with them even when construction is done because it makes sense. I believe the ventilation system, all ventilation systems at Ridge Street are sufficient to keep students safe. These systems have functioned for years, and we're upgrading them because of the need to get things up to current day code. All systems, though, will be safe. Outside dust will be limited now that the new additions are going up and being constructed, and disturbance to the site itself, the work site, will be limited in the new year. Windows can be opened in each classroom, and every single classroom, and every classroom will have air conditioning filters, or if it's a central mechanical system, the mechanical system MERV 13 filters will be installed. The only instance where that's not the case will be in the 1965 wing, where we have HEPA filters in the unit ventilators that exist in that wing. But we do have the air cleaners there as well, and window air conditioners installed in those windows, and windows that can open and close rather easily. So that's about it. As to construction, we are moving along. I can positively report that we are beginning to see progress with the construction of the new additions, and the site is starting to come into its own. And I look forward to seeing it continue in the months ahead.
We do too. Thank you, Dr. Ross. Mrs. Taylor, that concludes our list of questions that we were able to address tonight. I don't know if you have anything that you would like to add.
No, I'm going to try to be succinct. My dad talked a lot, so it's probably going to be difficult. I think that we all have to take a breath and realize that a plan that we submitted after New York State gave us the guidelines in mid-July and gave every school district 2 weeks to submit a plan, regardless of how long people were planning, I do not believe really is something that's going to drive no, I'm saying it wrong. We had 2 weeks to basically submit a plan to the state. And what happens is we are getting information every single day that is different, contradicting, or adding to what we have already done. And so things are constantly changing. flexibility, patience. We are one strong community united. And one of the things that we don't want to lose, we don't want anyone to lose sight of, is how much we want to make sure that everybody is safe, and that school is such an important part of this community. People move here for the school system and the schools. And we know that our schools may not look exactly like it did before. We are hoping for the quote normal to go back to normal, but sometimes I'm thinking there's going to be a new normal. We are in this together. We hear you. We are going to be here to answer your questions. We're going to be here to address your concerns. And if after those questions and concerns, we have to maybe change some things, then we will, but we will let you know. So I don't know, I will say Mrs. Catrone, I want to thank you for being the most awesome moderator tonight, over 500 questions. I hope we addressed them, and I'm sure we'll hear from those that we did not. But I want to thank you, and certainly want to thank everybody who is on the call tonight. I know it was very important to you. I know the numbers were up to about 400. I'm sure Mr. Van Hollen has a count of how many people were on the phone or watching us, but I really just want to thank everybody for taking the time tonight. I know, again, this is the first of a few conversations. I know tomorrow is middle school. We will be supporting our faculty and administrators and staff and parents, and everybody in the elementary school eventually goes up to middle and high. So we are one big Blind Brook community together. So thank everybody tonight. I don't know if Dr. Brimstein would like to say a few words before we close out.
Yeah, thank you. Again, terrific teamwork, everybody. I know this has been a real heavy lift, and I just want to assure the community that we're doing this work because we believe in what we're doing. This is a phenomenal group of people that I'm working with. I'm so blessed to be part of this team, and I want you to know that this is constantly evolving. And if nothing else, we are showing time and time again our ability to take new information points, your observations and your perspective, and incorporate those the best of our ability. So if something wasn't answered, or you have an idea or something you want to still share, you know how to reach us. We do appreciate it, and we will continue to, like I said, incorporate it to the best of our ability and really together meet the needs of our entire community. This is an extremely difficult time. But again, together as one strong community, we will prosper, not just survive. We will prosper. So thank you so much, everybody. Good night for now. Parents who have children in middle school, we'll see you again tomorrow night. Just if you want, just for your own planning purposes, that first half an hour obviously will be the same. First 27 minutes, I think it was, of the video. Again, because it provides an overview. So if you do have a middle schooler, feel free to be about a half an hour late, and then you won't miss a thing. So good night, everybody. Thank you so much. And thank you for everybody who made this happen tonight behind the curtain there. Zach and Charles, phenomenal job. DJ, Colin, Harry, and everybody else. Jonathan, thank you so much for your contributions tonight. Thank you, Tracy. Great job.
And thank you again, Lori, and everyone stay safe and healthy.